Are we ready? Okay, let's clap it up for Roberto.
Alright, so my presentation is called Art Through Music by me. For my person that I studied through my article was Sonny Rollins, and his article was called Art Never Dies. A bit about him is that he's a jazz musician and he plays the saxophone. And a fun fact, another one, would be that he's 93 years old, so he's been around for a pretty long time. In his article, he argues that art is more than any physical stuff, and is more important than any material stuff that we have, and is really rooted in within us and in our hearts and our minds and emotional feelings. And for my artist, I chose Salvador Dali. He was a surrealist artist from the movement, which lasted through 1917 to 1945. He did a bunch of oil paintings, and he didn't really have a theme on much of them. A bunch of his art was just really abstract things coming together, so there wasn't much of a theme. And the reason I chose Dali to support Rollins is because I think that jazz is it's very abstract, just like surrealism art. So I think that surrealism and jazz can have a very deep connection with each other. In jazz, you can use certain wrong notes or play around with the timing. And I think Dali demonstrates that in his art using weird objects or things that you wouldn't normally agree with. So yeah. For the first piece that I chose, it's called The Persistence of Memory from 1931. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with this piece. I like to admire obviously the very famous clocks, the melting clocks there. Another thing I really like about Dali's works is the skies that he paints. They're very beautiful to look at. They're very nice to look at. I can admire also the unity that they have. The color palette comes nice pretty together and is very satisfying to look at. The next piece that I have is The Meditative Rose from 1958. And pretty much immediately we can just be drawn to the rose that we see on the screen. And I'm going to share my personal opinion. I think that the rose doesn't really fit into this painting, but that's what I like about it. I like how it's because red doesn't really match with the background that's going on. I like how this rose is making a statement and is there just catching your eye and is out there. So yeah, I really like that about this piece. And lastly, I have The Temptation of St. Anthony from 1946. And there's a lot going on with this piece, clearly. But I would like to point out that the sky and the ground, they are very simple. And I think that really brings out the rest of the stuff that's going on, all of the animals and the person and all the stuff that they're carrying above their head. I wanted to share out about something I noticed about the animals, how from the one closest to us, it turns out brighter, and then going farther back, the animals start getting a bit darker. And also notice the farther back you go, the animals are carrying more stuff on their back or something that's bigger. To me, I felt like that was representing work or just the animals going through work. And lastly on this piece, I wanted to point out the darker edges and also these clouds that are starting to come in. To me, it gave me this eerie feeling. They were a bit they were giving off a bit of wonder and uncertainty about what's going on. So I feel like that's a good twist to the piece. And lastly, I want to leave off with this quote by Sonny Rollins, and that he's stating that we all have art within us. And it says, art represents the immaterial soul, intuition, that which we feel in our hearts.